Thank you, Mrs. Onuk. Our chief host, His Excellency Babatunde Fowler, SAN, was born in Lagos on June 28, 1963. He studied at the University of Benin, from where he graduated with a Bachelor of Laws LLB Hons degree in 1987. He was called to the Nigerian bar as a solicitor and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria in November 1988. After completing the professional training program at the Nigerian Law School, Lagos, which he undertook between 1987 and 1988, Babatunde Fowler commenced a 4-year tenure as the Executive Governor of Lagos State in Nigeria on May 29, 2007. This was after a successful 4-year tenure as the Chief of Staff to his predecessor, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He was recently re-elected as Executive Governor of Lagos for a second tenure of 4 years to continue the remarkable achievements his administration has attained in delivering good governance and accountability to the people of Lagos State. Join me in welcoming Mr. Babatunde Fowler, the Chairman, Lagos Internal Revenue Services, who is representing our Executive Governor, for his speech.
President Mary Robinson, the former President of Ireland, Professor Craig Smith, the conference chairman, promoters of this conference, permanent secretaries here present, guest speakers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I bring you greetings and wishes from His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, who is unavoidably absent, and he has given me an address which I will now deliver. On behalf of the people and government of Lagos State, I am most delighted to welcome you all to this opening plenary session of the Conference on Corporate Social Responsibility, or CSR for short, under the auspices of the African CEO Roundtable. I note that this event brings together leading figures and decision makers across the globe to affirm the principles of CSR and discuss how CSR can be made to improve the lives of the African society at large. This conference initiative, the first of its kind being held and hosted in Lagos State, is indeed important in terms of the actual and potential impact of CSR on the economies and governance of Africa and its people. We are particularly interested in how CSR can be a driver to complement the efforts of the state in improving social conditions in the megacity of Lagos in particular, and impacting on other stakeholders in general. First, allow me to touch on some philosophical issues surrounding CSR that can sometimes be misunderstood and even stand in the way of making improvements pragmatically and in a sustainable manner to the standards of living of our people. Some would argue that in our market-based economies, the main, even only, job of private sector companies is to be efficient and innovative in order to enhance competitive advantage and maximize shareholder value, whilst at the same time paying their taxes and obeying the law. The corollary is that government should assume the entire burden of social responsibility in all respects, vis-à-vis its citizens with resources at its disposal, including corporate taxes. But it is not so simple. There is an inevitable overlap between the private and public sectors when it comes to providing social service infrastructures and services. And this overlap is purposeful, not accidental, but it is in the interest of both the private and public sectors to see improvements in these areas. I am sure you will deal with this overlap in your deliberations. What we can say is that CSR should be an important but not overriding concern of the private sector. Whereas social responsibility is in fact government's main concern. We believe that government should holistically plan social programs and ensure their regulation and implementation, and that the private sector should play a more incidental role in generating many social initiatives to contribute to what government is instrumental in providing. It is therefore essential that companies undertake their businesses in line with global best practices in terms of meeting their civic obligations, upholding high ethical standards, and above all, in a sustainable manner to deliver tangible social and development impacts in the operating environment. In essence, we all have to play a role. Enterprises, public authorities, investors, civil society organizations, academia, employees, consumers, and citizens alike. Therefore, our collective objective should be to increase significantly the number of African enterprises integrating the principles of CSR in their strategies and operations in a transparent manner and in cooperation with the internal and external stakeholders. CSR principles such as CSR sustainability reports, for instance, serve as a tool to change external perceptions and to investigate dialogue with stakeholders both inside and outside the company. Open and honest, relevant and well-targeted CSR sustainability communications can contribute to increasing employee motivation, improving company or brand reputation, strengthening credibility, and building trust and long-term competitive advantage. We are aware of the various definitions of CSR, which range from corporate philanthropy, corporate governance, social responsibility, and the European Union's definition, which views CSR as a concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations and in their interactions with stakeholders. Whilst I will not attempt to proffer a definition for CSR in Nigeria or Africa at large, it is indisputable that the 21st century company's responsibility goes beyond its shareholders to include a wider range of stakeholders. Certain pillars in CSR are also important, namely setting measurable goals, stakeholder engagement, sustainability issues, mapping, management systems, SMS, life cycle assessment, reporting, and branding. That said, I must, at this junction, emphasize that there's nothing wrong with companies being profit and/or bottom-line driven. That process yields innovation, employment, products, services, and when done within the law, the real benefits it confers to society far outweigh what firms might do with explicit CSR initiatives, no matter how significant they might be. It would be remiss of me not to acknowledge that many international and indigenous companies in Nigeria, with operations in Lagos in particular, are by their nature socially responsible and increasingly voluntarily integrating CSR in their operations. This is more evident from the state's internally generated revenue, IGR, performance profile, which records a substantial increase from a monthly average of 600 million naira in 1999, 7.5 billion in 2007, and now around 15 billion. Apart from the state's government strategies in the area of tax payment, pay, education, and enlightenment, transparency and convenience of payment process, and the introduction of self-assessment systems, the marked increase in IGR would have not been possible without companies' compliance with their tax obligations. This clearly and incontrovertible proof that many of our companies have started integrating CSR in their operations, and for this they deserve commendation. While I stand the risk of not being able to fully remember all the CSR initiatives that companies in Lagos have initiated to deepen community involvement and enrich our Commonwealth, the efforts of Eko Hotels on Adetukumbo Ademola Road, Mobil Oil in building a school in Ije, Zenith Bank in reconstructing Ajose Adegun Street and providing primary health care facilities on Adeniji Adele Road, GT Bank's sponsorship of the Principal's Cup, Channels TV sponsorship of a football tournament for primary school kids, and MTN sponsorship of Lagos State Security Command Center and street soccer are some of the initiatives that readily come to mind. Perhaps the most defining is the contribution we have received year after year since 2007 from many banks and individuals whose time and space cannot permit me to name in support of the Security Trust Fund that has enabled the state improve its capacity to protect lives and property and maintain law and order. Our government remains grateful for this support. Since this inaugural event is being held in Lagos, I cannot resist bringing to your attention some examples of how the state, through the 10-point development agenda, is working to satisfy its voters' mandates, to overcome constraints facing them in their daily lives, notably in the areas of roads, transportation, power and water, environment, health, education, employment, food security, shelter, and revenue enhancement. We are irrevocably committed to our shared vision of transforming Lagos into Africa's model megacity, a global economic and financial hub that is safe, secure, functional, and productive. This is truly a daunting challenge, but one that we have already begun to tackle with great determination and zeal. We are indeed posed to deliver a brighter, rewarding future to the residents of Lagos. I will close my remarks with a fervent hope that your discussions and reflections during this event will serve to promote corporate social responsibility as a tenet of behavior of many organizations active in Africa, both public and private, for the betterment of the livelihoods of all stakeholders. I thank you for your attention and wish you very insightful deliberations and urge you to enjoy the pleasant and warm hospitality of Lagos, the city of aquatic splendor and the center of excellence. God bless you. Eko Nibajer.